Scareclaw and Manadium side by side in this top cut. That's what you want to see, right? Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. We have the Rochester regional breakdown here for you out in New York. And, you know, the first thing that catches my attention here is the most represented deck in Top Cut was actually Rescue Ace. I actually find that kind of interesting. The fact that you see such a change in the deck, especially, you know, in a New York regional of all places. I mean, yeah, Rochester's a little bit more out there, but that's kind of interesting to me. Now, of course, we did have one Cashier duelist actually appearing in the Top Cut. There's nothing wrong with that, all right? They have the standard meta. We're going to do our thing. Now, the things of, we also had one purely. Can't forget the little cat deck, okay? We had one Flaunderies duelist. Now, Flaunder's track record actually continues out here. Like, this deck is still on its way to being one of the... people don't know how to play around Impin. That's all there is to it. Impin sets itself up, the opponent stares at it and goes, what am I supposed to do about that? Get that thing off of the field right now. And it's so detrimental to the game's flow right now. I'm genuinely impressed. Now, we had one Scareclaw duelist out here as well, and Scareclaw did manage to get third place. Like, the deck crawled up out of the ashes of the bottom floor here and said, hey, you know, we're going to be abusing the crap out of Tryhard. There's going to be nothing that you can do about it. And I actually think that's pretty impressive. They're also playing the Splash, all the little cool tech choices that you want to see for this deck. So it's pretty cool. And then our Manadium deck also is kind of interesting. Playing Swage de Floor, of all things. Well, we'll talk about that list here in a second. But these little tech choices are the things that are making this format actually very, very interesting to kind of keep up on. So let's pass on over so you can take a look at what's going on in the great minds of these rogue players. Right, our next list here is some Scareclaw love. And let's call it what it is at this point in time. I think a lot of people are just happy to see that Scareclaw's still a pretty competent deck at the end of the day. The fact that this deck does sit at the meta dinner table and does get the chance to kind of detour a lot of already existing strategies, I think that's a good thing. Also, shout out to Millenniumizer Strict down here, actually being one of the cooler menaces in the room. Ooh, I sucked up your monster. All right, we have some Manadium. Now, the first thing that I see about this list that really caught my attention is, where's the King Calamity? Why are we not doing Calamity things? What are we doing? Well, this deck can actually do other things. I mean, you can bring out Dissipator. I mean, you have access to the Baron. You can overshoot into whatever line of play. And we're also playing the Ice Jade here as well. The utility assets that this deck actually has going for it are kind of beyond most of the normal understanding of the average Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist. And I think that that's why this has been one of the cooler combo decks to see. And yes, that is Swage de Floor actually seeing some play. I will admit, I do love any time that Swage de Floor ends up being a semi-relevant card in the game. He's one of the coolest little stepping stones that you can have. Also, another level 8, so you can do all of your cool little plays that we already know that you were trying to do. Next up is some Rescue Ace stuff. Now, the extract down here, we are playing the Topological Bomber Dragon. One thing I will say about all these Rescue Ace decks at the end of the day, they try out so many different lines of play. And it depends on which version is going to stick, which little cool candy is going to be the piece that's going to stick around. But I think that's kind of cool. And yes, we do have Enemy Controller sticking around in this build instead of the additional books that we've seen in others. And on the flip side of the equation down here, we have some CodetoTalker lines of play down here as well. We've seen some of these builds that have been trying out, you know, the Neo Tempest Terahertz climb up, and it's been kind of cool to actually see how this has been sticking around in the meta. What lines of innovation have been the ones that really stick around and actually matter? Once again, Phantasme doing Phantasma-y things. Okay, so good stuff. Next up here, we have Branded barely missing the cutoff. I will say it's kind of sad to see that this deck did hit 9th place, and it could have actually performed up into the top cut. But once again, You see good old Fusion Duplication down here doing what Fusion Duplication wants to do, which is actually scare people in the meta and have them go, oh boy, like, I can't believe this. Card is actually pretty good. Contrary to popular belief, getting the additional, dump for this is so amazing. We also have, we have some Cashier back here. First of all, nothing wrong with getting a little bit of Cashier in the meta. It is a consistent deck when it wants to be, especially when you can have all the books and, lance defensive options that you could ever actually want to make sure that, oh no, my opponent's attempting to stop me. Uh-oh, time to bust out the counterplay. And when we do see the Ghost Mourner Moonlit Chill down here, this is very nice to actually see. This card will scare a lot of people. It's amazing to me how many people aren't actually prepared for that. We actually have Infernobyl down here as well. Oh boy, DDR, it's been a little while. I see that we're also playing we are playing the Flamville counter with the uppercutter here. It doesn't come up, but I do love this little line of play. I think the fact that you can even actually do this is incredibly cool. And yes, we are playing the Goki Power Load, and we are seeing Raw 10 here. See a little bit of play as well. Okay. Next up here, we have the Sprite Adventure deck. This takes me back to a time where this deck was deemed one of the scariest decks in the room, and it still is. We're just kind of using Ring of Worm here to step on into additional lines of play. Trust me when I say this card actually being something that you can use to punish the opponent is amazing. And we are citing the Gamma Burst, so standard OTK things that, we all kind of miss back in the day are still sticking around. They are still fully competent. What else we got back here? Hey, we have some Vanquish Soul back here. Hey, good old TC Boo. I'm glad to see that there can only be one is still doing its thing. I'm glad to see that Shifter is also something that this deck picked up that it actually wants to do. Being able to Shifter punish the opponent is pretty strong. Call it what it is. Oh boy, but I can't do yeah, yes you can. Alright, and then of course we are doing the one Rise Heart through the Fenrir's. That's been a pretty standard thing. And then we have some more Tierra back here. The more I look at this build, we're not playing Lances. Actually kind of surprised about that. Instead we went for the Moonlit Chills, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. It just kind of comes down to, what's going to get you the most optimal answers to make sure that, you can cover your bases and get things going. And, sometimes it can be hit or miss. Then our last list here is some Branded Illusion. Branded Illusion looks like it kind of struggled out of this week. I don't think that's necessarily a problem. It's just the deck kind of looks like it had some suffering. You can still do all the branded plays that you want with a lot of the things. I see that we are playing an Albion. The Albion didn't really stick around all that much for this deck. It's kind of interesting to see, but it looks like it's a consistent monster. I mean, this did pull off 22nd place, so that's still, getting your invite. Good stuff. So that is the breakdown that we have out of this regional. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.